Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Bowler's Union.
Keep it in. Let's go.
That is just what on earth has gone on there? I don't know if I was thinking about what I'm going to say now, but or whatever. What I was going to say is, uh, this is the worst start to a podcast ever. If you like the podcast, please leave a 5-star review and ignore me fluffing that bit there. Yeah, the reviews mean a lot to us, don't they, Keith? So if you enjoy the podcast, you listen. Please show your support in that way. It'll take you about 30 seconds. And also, we need to remind you that if you listen to this podcast, you can get a discount off Grey Nichols, which is the best kit in the world, bar none. And the code is A_TBU20. That's all capitals. And you can use that at greynichols.co.uk. You get a tasty discount. Right. What's the episode about today? If we knew then what we know now. It's a mouthful.
Exactly that. Just a little conversation for us, isn't it, on mistakes we've made maybe, or things we know we could have improved on, or what we'd be better at now if we'd have done them earlier.
Yeah, this is probably going to make us feel quite bad, isn't it? I reckon. You know what I mean? Reflecting on all the errors we've made, why we didn't quite make it to the top level and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I can give my excuse. I can give an excuse every time. So, well, I have 5 years out, so otherwise I'd have made it. I didn't have 5-6 years out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough. You're bagging in goals for Blackburn, weren't you? So, yeah, that's fair. Right. Do you want to start us off?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think I'll also say another thing for me is I didn't think I'd obviously get this far playing cricket because I'd taken so long out. So I was kind of happy with what I'd achieved anyway. Because I remember signing for Warwickshire and just thinking, if I can play for these 2 years that I've got, at least I can say that I played a little bit of football and a little bit of cricket. So anything else after that is a massive win. So, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Looking back now, I wish I'd have paid a little bit more attention to my mobility and being a little bit more agile, a bit more supple leopard, as you'd like to. Yeah.
I wonder if I've still got that. No, I think
a little bit more supple, a bit more well-rounded as a cricketer with like my fielding and everything else, because I kind of got to. I was poor with my fielding. I got better. I got to a decent enough standard where, you know, if a ball came to me, I could catch it and I could stop it. But I never really pushed myself. There was one time when I started to. I don't know if you remember. I went in the slips one winter. Do you remember that?
Yes, I think I can, yeah.
I actually did okay there. But then you start bowling again, and I was just kind of, forget it, I won't do that. It's an extra little bit of work I need to do. Whereas now, with how my knees are, mate, I need to be stood at slips just to not have to chase a ball. So,
well, mate, that's a good point.
So, I wish I'd have paid a bit more attention to my fielding and moving, everything like that. I feel like my work ethic was okay, but it had to be a little bit on my terms. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll be honest. I think you're being harsh on yourself there. I've seen you work very hard. It doesn't necessarily look the same as everyone else. So, for example, if I compare you to an Ollie Hammond-Dalby, your working hard is quite different. You're very much on with a band on one leg.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. Whereas Ollie's more of a golden retriever type working hard, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm thinking about how I can improve and like trying to put things in place. But if it came to like the harder yards of like stamina, running, I kind of just kept in my lane and stayed in my bubble.
This is making me chuckle. Do you believe in it though? Do you know what I mean? Do you actually wish you'd have done more conditioning, or I thought you were a bit.
I do to an extent, because I think I'd probably be physically in a better place now. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't probably be feeling as painful as what I do right now. Yeah.
Oh.
So I wish I'd have paid more attention to that kind of stuff. What about yourself?
Well, while we're on the subject then, yeah, so bear in mind I wasn't a footballer when at that kind of time that you were. So I physically wasn't great. I had like the heart and I guess almost like the willingness to bowl, but I wasn't like particularly strong or anything like that. I don't even strong. It might not even be the right word. Robust might be the right word. I think I probably weighed about 75 kilos wet.
Wow.
So I was proper skinny and stuff. And ultimately, you get to a point where if you're playing against professionals, when you're making that transition into sort of second team cricket and stuff, and you come up against actual proper athletic cricketers, then I didn't match up too well. In my defence to that, we had an S&C when I first started out at Middlesex, who was an absolute chop. Like, he was a bully, basically. I think I've mentioned this before. So like, gym sessions weren't fun, and they weren't tailored to an individual. They weren't made to kind of inspire anyone. It was almost basically this bloke just showing off what his bench was and stuff like that. So I didn't like it, but I wish I'd have been a bit stronger and not necessarily conditioned, actually, more on the strength side. I think for me would have been one at an earlier age. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I will say with that, there was a point, mate, where we had this is before you came, an S&C who went off into another sport, but he had I think like a massive ego. He made it all about him, like a bit of a power trip. He'd walk around with like the protein bars in warm-ups and be like real selective of who he gave them to. Like, yeah, you're a first teamer, you can have one. Yeah, like I don't like he's handing out like the best thing ever, like golden tickets. I don't know. He was really selective and he'd walk over to one or two lads who were like second team young players, and he'd go, "No," and walk. And you're like, "What are you doing? It's a protein bar." And you'd ask for protein powder, and this guy would be like, "Oh yeah, we've not got any." Mate, he'd have them in his garage at home, and he decided who he'd give them to, and he'd keep himself like, "What are you doing? You're an S&C."
I mean, that's crazy. I feel like that doesn't exist so much in the game anymore. I feel like that kind of S&C, I feel like, has gone.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy this, actually. I don't think I've ever told you this. So when I was younger and I was at Middlesex, we did have right. So the guy I just mentioned, he was a bit of a mule. His dad also helped out, right? And he used to be a former British skier or something like that.
Right.
Anyway, so he was kind of oversaw it, but his son did the sessions. But anyway, I went to Sri Lanka for a winter, which obviously I was, buzzing for. Now, rather than give me a tub of protein, he thought he'd do me a favour so I could take the protein to Sri Lanka. He poured out the protein, and he basically wrapped it up in a bag and sealed it. It literally looked like I was smuggling drugs on a plane. I remember like literally him giving it to me, and I promise you it was like, like literally wrapped in grey thing, like a bit of masking tape round, stuffed in the bottom of my cricket bag, thinking, what on earth is this bloke doing to me? And then literally, like, when I got to Sri Lanka, I had to like stab it with a knife, pour it into like a tub. Obviously, I didn't have any money then, really, so I sort of going there was challenging enough financially at that point. But in terms of the help, great help. But yeah, made me feel like an absolute drug smuggler. I don't know how we got onto that, but yeah, S&Cs and giving out stuff, that's poor. I think that's gone though, right? Near enough. Now, I think both of us have got something written down about food.
Yeah.
Go on. What's your theory with food here? What would you like to have done better?
I think, and this is probably, I'm not the only one I reckon out there, but you just kind of feel knackered at the end of a day's play, and you go for the quickest, easiest, tastiest option, which was never the healthiest or best one for you.
I've never done that.
And I wish I'd have just, kind of flipped into gear more with that, and just kind of being quite anal about, right, this is what I have at the end of the day, and I've only got so many options, and that's what it's going to be. If it takes an extra half an hour or whatever it is, you just do it, which I've kind of got into that stage now. But if I could have done that 15 years ago, yeah, I'd probably be in a lot better condition than what I am now.
Oh.
I feel like an old jacket potato right now, mate. Just podgy. Just.
So that's done me an old jacket potato. Oh. Are you talking about? Are you saying in our peak Warwickshire days you wouldn't have come out with me to find the best burger joints, and you'd have stayed in?
So,
Would
see,
you?
this is the thing. No, it would
What
have
would you
been
have
hard. I'd have looked. I tell you what I'd have done, and I've done like you did that time when we went to Gourmet Burger Kitchen and gone for that full-on black burger that was like made out of like just dust. That's what I've gone for.
It's like katsu burger or something, wasn't it? I don't know what it was.
Yeah, I'd have obviously come out, but I wish I'd have just made the smarter decisions. 3 shakes didn't come around for me drinking water. Chris did it.
No. I mean, yeah. This is very open, honest. This is cool. Well, my food one is I wish I'd meal prepped. So like as soon as I could have, not me personally. Let me rephrase that. I wish I could have paid someone to meal prep. As soon as I could have afforded to, which actually, I'm trying to think back to my Middlesex days. My first contract was probably like 200 quid a week, 250 quid a week, something like that. You can meal, and it wasn't such a big thing then, but you can meal prep now for I think between £50 and £100 a month.
Really?
No, hang on, no, crikey, no, a week. Sorry, I mean you probably could do it for a month, but you wouldn't be eating very nutritious food. Sorry, you can meal prep I think now for around 50 to 75 quid a week. We've got that wrong again, and I feel like in doing that because probably when I was like first started living on my own, I wasn't the most capable in the kitchen. And even so, sometimes family, when you're at home with family or whatever, they don't necessarily get it, do they?
Yeah.
Like even now, I've got Mrs. 2 kids and stuff. And we'll have a family meal, and it'll be like a chili or something. I mean, I don't know the macros in that. I quite like to. Do you know what I mean? So you know what I mean. If I'm being honest, and I don't expect them to care, and they shouldn't have to. That's for me to worry about. But whereas a meal prep company, you know exactly in theory what's going in your food, don't you? And how much protein, how much fat, how much carbs, and that would support all the fitness stuff that we mentioned before. So I wish I'd have done that as soon as I was able. Albeit 200 quid a week living in London didn't go that far, to be honest. But maybe when I moved to Essex around that sort of time, I could have done it.
At what point did you can the nourishment, Chris?
I haven't. If I'm at a garage and I still see a nourishment, I'll enjoy that. It's just another level of chocolate milkshake, to be honest. Although the garage near Grace Road, if anyone here listening knows the garage I'm on about, by the ground, they did have chocolate nourishments, and now they do not anymore. It's become like an Asda garage, so it's just gotten rubbish, to be honest. And there you go. There's a tip: shop at M&S, not Asda. If you're able to make that choice, because I see these things on TikTok a lot, actually. Where it kind of like compares a shop at Asda to a shop at M&S. And actually, if you buy the right things at M&S, it's not any more expensive.
No, I think if you go like M&S's on, then yeah, you're in the ballpark, aren't you?
Yeah, it's just when you buy like the fancy coleslaws and the pre-made sandwiches and all that sort of stuff. But if you actually just stick to basic stuff, then it's no different at all.
I was there today. I saw a lovely steak, Chris. It looked. I was like, I'm gonna go for that. Then I saw it was like £40 odd. Nah, I can't.
Well, actually, you are near. You live quite close to like the flagship M&S, don't you, in the country, near the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
For any M&S lovers out there, get yourself down to Hedge End. That's a good M&S.
That is the one. That was supposedly they had that. We're going off topic here a little bit, but
that's all good.
I think the manager, whatever, they were given basically a free checkbook, supposedly, of just go for it. We want this to be the flagship across Europe, and that's
Oh, fair play. See, I don't have a particularly good one near me, and it's a little bit of a drive, so it's not somewhere that I'm in all the time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Um,
I know where they are. I know where they are on the circuit. Do you know what I mean? But
I have a question for you with going back to our original topic. So we've worked with Pop Welch quite a bit. It took me a few times to hear it, but he was the last coach I heard this from, and I thought, I'm going to take it on board. And he actually said, if I knew then what I knew now.
Yeah.
And a question like, go on, what? He's like, I do things so different, like with how he bowled within himself, his action, because all these things he's managed to understand bowling more and what he'd changed, X, Y, Z. And I thought to myself, I trust him with what he's on about, with what he's talked about. Why don't I just put myself in that position of being that young body that he is talking about, but just go all out, listen to what he has to say and do it. And I really think that helped me. But he was the only coach I really sat down and thought about it and kind of, I'm just going to go for it. He persuaded me a little bit from how he talked and what he spoke about, of where I thought he knows what he's on about. But I've heard many people, many coaches or players who were senior players talk about that stuff. Do you think that young players look at that and think, maybe I should, let me stop asking questions?
Oh, mate, this is the most infuriating thing. I really wish they would, because it's part of being a bit older, isn't it? You do want to, I think you want to help people. And like, honestly, there's some of the stuff that you see and you're like, in your head, you're thinking, I went through exactly what you're feeling right now. But some people are shut off to it. And you can tell, can't you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can tell. So it's sort of like, oh, you just have to do it. But yeah, 100%. Why wouldn't you listen to, if someone's giving you financial advice and they're a billionaire, why wouldn't you listen to them? Do you know what I mean? Why wouldn't you? And equally, if someone's played to the age of 39 or 40, like you and I are, and you're a 20-year-old, well, they're going to know a thing or two about longevity, and they're probably pretty good because they've played this long. So they're going to have some, you've literally just said a minute ago, don't have 3 milkshakes. And that's great advice, isn't it? Literally that, when you're thinking, I might go for that third at Five Guys or whatever, don't, because you've heard it on air. No, I'm kidding. But it's difficult. The only thing I think about learning is you learn when you're ready to. I'm more open-minded about learning now than I was when I was at uni, by a country mile, to be honest.
Why is that though?
Well, I think I was a bit distracted at uni, quite possibly.
Well, hold on. I mean, you even mentioned before we started about certain skill. It took you like 5 years.
Yeah. I'm a weird guy, Keith. I'm quite obsessive about stuff. So I'll be honest with you. For instance, for some reason recently, my TikTok feed has just been getting loads of fragrance stuff come up. And since that, I have bought loads and loads of aftershaves. Like, literally, they're only fake ones, right? But what I'm trying to do is I'm doing all my testing of smells with these fake ones. Here's one right here. And so I'm testing. So basically, I'm like all in. So I think in a weird way, what have I put? What we're talking about here is learning to bowl on waist swinger or wobble seam at lefties from an earlier age. I think basically I probably procrastinated because of wanting so much detail, and I probably should have just accepted I was going to be crap at it for a while, but stuck with it. But I think I probably over obsessed with it. Took me a little bit longer than it should have. And I think there is a stubbornness there. I've talked about this on other podcasts, because I think being stubborn in some ways is kind of good, because you need a little bit of backing yourself and what I'm doing is working. But I think probably at times I was a little bit too stubborn. So things could take me a little while to learn, because I had to really believe in it and I had to be obsessed with it. Are you similar like that at all or not?
there is stubbornness, yeah, and I think it's stubbornness, and there's also a little bit of selfishness within that as well, which I'm sure you come on to. But yeah, you want to, if you're doing something good when you're younger, you don't want to have to do something that's going to put you back again or make you feel shit, basically, and having to learn it again. So you can kind of opt out from it if everything's going well with the other skill. But as we see now and as we know, for you to go that next level, whatever it is you're doing, you've got to keep upskilling and trying to get better.
Mm. Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's a really fine line, isn't it? Because when you do learn a skill, you do inevitably, you can take a little step back, can't you? So using that as an example, a wobble versus an away swinger for a stop ball. Well, that is a slightly different feel in your wrist and your fingers and stuff. And in the very short term, it can impact your stop ball.
Yeah,
I felt, and I think probably I was unprepared to do that. Do you know what I mean? Or at least try it enough. So that would be one, being a little more open minded, and but again, like you just talked about being younger. Sometimes you don't want to hear it, do you?
no.
Do you know what I mean? You actually don't. Although I don't think anyone talked to me as frankly as we're being now and said, if you do this, you will get this result, and it will have X effect on your career. You know what I mean? No one was that straightforward.
But that then has to do with how you take things in as well. Like some people don't need that. Some people like yourself do. And to be fair, though, from knowing you long enough, if someone had said that to you, you still wouldn't have taken it on board.
Maybe not. Maybe not. To be honest, I feel like I don't know. I'm trying to work out. Do you think I'm still stubborn then?
No, not now. No, you were then. You were proper stubborn. Pop used to talk to me about trying to get you to do something different. This was like 2012, 13. And he was like, it's you have your way of thinking and it's hard to actually break that down. So I remember him talking to you about swinging it away or offering to shape away from a lefty. And you were just like, no.
Oh, God. Yeah, I mean...
But sometimes people need more proof than just what someone says. They need to see it happen a lot more. They need other people to do it to then be like, all right, I trust it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it took you like 10 years of seeing me do it for you to be like, Barks, what do you think about me coming round to lefties?
Are you talking about as in you taking the ball away from lefties?
Oh, well, away. No, taking the ball away from righties.
Righties.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean, I think the thing is, it's always been on my radar, or was always on my radar to do. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe part. You know what? Part of me, maybe. That winter when I went on that Lions tour. In some ways, maybe. Crikey, this is like a psychology session. This potentially because at that point, you can imagine in my head for my career, that was a point where maybe I didn't want to try and change anything.
Well, no. Why would you at that point? I mean? You are within touching distance.
Exactly.
Of international cricket.
But weirdly, in terms of age and at the point in my career, it was exactly the time I should have. But what I probably needed to do was not have a Lions tour and have one the following year, and then develop that better delivery at lefties, and then be more tooled up at that point. But
that's hard to do. You're not. How many bowlers are going to say no? I'm not going to go on this Lions tour, which could help me progress. I'm going to have another winter here. Not many. There's not many.
Yeah, no, 100%. And then all of a sudden, I mean, that Lions tour. To be fair, there were some good players on there. For example, I'm not going to run in at Ben Stokes when I'm trying to impress and go, and get panned everywhere. And say, I'm just working on the ball going away. Don't worry about your selection, whatever. I'm just going to. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, in hindsight, you look at it, and you're like, oh shit. But yeah, Christ, I'm going to go and hang myself somewhere. So yeah, we've got that one on. Have you got any cricket skill things in there?
I'd have probably tried to work harder at adjusting white ball and red ball. I feel like and I don't think the way the formats are set up, the way the fixtures are set up, that we allowed time to do that. But I wish I'd found a way of fitting that in where I was more ready to play white ball cricket when it was a white ball game, and then switch back to red ball.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the holy grail almost of county cricket bowling, isn't it? Is the adjusting between formats and feeling like you're ready. What would that look like then? Do you have any ideas now as how you'd have done it?
It'd have been quite a few drills of kind of like, for instance, white ball. You just feel like you're highing it down there, trying to slam a length as hard as you can.
Yeah.
Where red ball, looking to stand myself up more in the drills that I'd normally do, the hopping over hurdles, the back foot stability, just to kind of get my front arm working again in the right way, get myself up taller to then utilise my skill, stuff like that. But when you play a 4-day game, finish. I remember one game we played. We had a 4-day game. We had a day off and then a 50-over game. And at the end of the 4-day game, we ended up, after the team chat, Pop got the ballers out with a white ball. I don't know if you remember. And we had to bowl 4 overs with a white ball after finishing a 4-day game. It's crazy, really. You can't really do what you need to do in that time. Not that, whoever organises the fixtures gives a shit, but no. I try to find time for it, basically.
See, in my head, there is a logical answer to what you've said. Although I'm not saying it's easy to do, but I think it's relatively simple. Is if you're going from a white ball to a red ball game, then what you're saying, bang on, get using your body in the right way again. You're certainly going from a situation where you're hossing it into a hard length to moving the ball, being in a great position, all that sort of stuff. If it's the other way around, I'd focus on variations, to be honest. Back that you can slam a length, because that should be fairly in you anyway, and just concentrate on Yorkers and slower balls.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got, like, in that scenario, you've got 4 overs to bowl with a white ball, you don't really need to bowl more than an over of stock ball, do you?
No, not really.
I mean, maybe because of the Kookaburra. I mean, yeah, maybe, but probably your time's better spent going with the slowies and the Yorkers, but I don't know. Right, I've got one that's say it's counter to what you just said. It's not. It would be to drastically or totally eliminate junk volume past the age of, say, I don't know, I've said 18 or 20, but in reality, that's just a number. But once you know what you're doing, drastically reduce junk volume. And that can actually be in the gym as well, to be honest. Thinking about it, I mean, when I wrote it down, I was talking mainly bowling. When you're just bowling for the sake of it, you haven't really got an outcome in training you're looking for. Maybe you're just doing someone a favour and there's a batter in there. If you can get rid of that, I think it will be helpful. But equally, if there's any fluff exercises in the gym you're doing that aren't moving the needle, bin them off as well, because it's just a waste of time and resources. Any junk, bin off junk food. You could, any junk you can think of. The more you can get rid of, the better, I'd have thought.
Yeah.
Although maybe you need someone experienced to guide you as to what is junk and what isn't. But
I think with that, you have to go through that. You have to do more than what you should, but then you've got to recognise quick, like, that was useless. That was pointless, me doing that. I'm not doing that again. And don't be wrong, it's different if you're a trialist and you're trying to find a club. You're going to bowl and bowl and bowl till they say, yeah, that's it. But
of course,
if you're not and you're just doing your normal routine or whatever, just cut stuff out. I know people love the game and they want to get better, but there's a point where your body's going, this is useless, we're knackered. You can keep flogging us, but we're not going to recover as well. We're not going to perform as well when you need us to if you just keep flogging us.
Can I add another one in?
Yeah.
Because now this reared its head the other day when I was coaching, and it was a school environment, so I was sort of in my head, I let it slide. But I reckon in terms of training, the biggest bang for your buck thing that you can do is in your first 10 minutes of a net. So I'm talking more ball v bat. If you nail that first 10 minutes of a net, I think that has a real exponential benefit, because it's the hardest time to to bat, isn't it, in your first 20 balls? And equally, starting off and being on the money is the hardest skill with the ball. Yet I still see people like with a batter there, ambling in and doing like practice deliveries with a batter there. I feel like as soon as there's a batter there, you either bowl properly or you don't. I'm not saying this is going to ruin you, but I just think there's so much benefit to being ready and cracking on with it and focusing really hard on executing straight away that you'd have, the benefits would be quite high, basically. I don't know what you think about that.
I agree. I mean, put it like this, when there's batters that are going into a net, I think you see less and less of coaches allowing batters to just randomly just start off really casual in the net, just kind of wafting at balls they shouldn't. And you kind of taught, especially in the county circuit, of once you're in that net, we're starting. So no crap, no junk, no just lazy shots. We're into it straight away. To stage of where they have it, I don't know you guys, but we've had it over the years, and I know we did at Warwickshire, is when you're out, you're out. Put the batsman under a bit of pressure of, we're starting as though it's a game, so you've got to learn to switch on. I think the same's going to be for bowlers. And that's the only way you're going to get better. Starting a spell is like, right, you need to either make sure you are fully ready to go before you start this net, or, I don't know, it's not punishment, but kind of, there must be something on it for the bowler to make them start a spell better and become the norm of, once that ball's in the hand and the batsman's there, they're on it from ball one.
Yeah. Here's one for you. Obviously quite often this is not me being pro batters here, but quite often you might have if you're out, you're out. Or you might have if you get out, you have to take your pads off kind of thing. Or if you get out, you maybe have to switch nets, something like that. What is there for bowlers like that?
What's the
Do you know
punishment?
what I mean?
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
But what is...
Well, not, I don't know. Yeah, like is there a way that you can...
Certain area?
And what if you don't know? That's what I'm saying. What if you don't? What's the punishment? I say punishment. That's probably the wrong word, but
it's hard because you want your bowlers to bowl at your batters, and you don't want to flog them. You don't want to do something that's physical, but you might add something at the end of the net. I'll tell you what you could do. What we used to do at Warwickshire. Remember, if someone turned up late, the whole squad got punished, and we'd have to run up and down the stands.
Yeah, I do remember that. I mean, it didn't happen that often, didn't it? But was it Lammy or Tiki or something?
Mark Adair went through a phase of where he just...
Mark Adair, that's it. Yeah, Jesus. Yeah.
And there was I think in the WhatsApp group, I think I'd said something to him, and he was chirping back. Do you remember?
This is a long time ago. I feel like I can't remember the detail, but I can remember it happening.
And I kept typing, and I was like, and my mate Uzi was like, don't do it. And I'd delete. And I was like, I'm going to go again. And I start going in like down. And Trotty spoke to me the next day. He's like, how long, why did you not send it? He said, I was watching. I said, he kept saying Keith Barker is typing for ages. And then it stopped. I was like, I kept being stopped by my mate. That was a punishment we had, wasn't it? If you turn up late, if one person turned up late, the whole squad ran. I don't think you can do that with a bowler missing the length.
What about?
But I'll tell you what you remember doing with Pop. You'd have a lane for top of off to a right-hander, a lane for the top of the stumps, top of off for a left-hander. Then you'd have like a Yorker length that you had to get under a hurdle. You had to bowl a bouncer hitting the helmet. And that was quite good because once you hit top of off to a right-hander, move on to the lefty, do that again, move on from the lefty to the Yorker, get your Yorker in, do your bouncer, go back round. We had to go round twice. So you had to do that. That was quite good.
Yeah, pressure through humiliation, if you know what I mean. Right? If you got left behind, you look like a bit of a...
You know what? It seemed to happen more times than not. The youngsters would fly off. But they'd bowl three down leg, top of off, Yorker, and then bouncer, and they'd be like, yeah, we're off. And then just through honing in, and the senior bowlers being a bit stiff to start with, all of a sudden you see the senior lads start catching the youngsters up, and the youngsters just start panicking, and then some youngster finished last who was out the blocks early on.
Yeah, and then you get to give it the old yeah. I've just thought of one, right? How about this? You know, obviously, typically you bowl in pairs.
Yeah.
How about you bowl in a three, but someone isn't bowling, and basically you bowl as a pair until you you get hit for a four, for example, and then that person gets subbed out for the bloke who was off, and then they just keep going until there's a more, then they get subbed off. So, for example, in a bad world, right? Let's just say me and you running into bowl together. Bang! You slip onto the pads. Bang! Four. So then Clarkey comes in, right? Imagine then all of a sudden I get cut. Bang! So you come back in. If that ball you get hit, go onto the pads again for four, you're off again, and you've only bowled two. Do you see what I'm saying? That kind of thing where it's like a
Yeah, something like that. But do you want a bit of humiliation in there? I reckon as well.
well, the humiliation's in not bowling. You just be stood there.
No, because but some people might not some people might not be bothered. But what if you have it that you all? I don't know. This may not work. You all got to bowl a certain amount of balls, right?
Yeah.
But you rotate, so you bowl 6 balls each in a pair, and then one of you comes off, the other one joins in or whatever. But if you get hit for 4, you stop there. The others continue until they bowl their 6 as a new pair. But you'll probably find that one bowler has bowled less than the others. Mm. But when they finish, that one bowler who's on their own just has to bowl whatever they've got left. So they could end up bowling 3 overs on their own.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, something, I don't know. Don't get me wrong. Again, in the professional environment, you've obviously got to balance. You've got to make sure people have got a certain amount of volume in them, haven't you? Preparing for the season and stuff. But if you have time for like a genuine training session and you want to mix it up and have a bit of threat on it, yeah, that would be quite cool. That'd be quite cool.
Let's say you've got 6 overs each to bowl, 3 bowlers. And then let's say it's me and you and just Ben Mike as an example. If me and you are bowling and we get to our last ball, he rotates with one of us, but his first ball gets bang 4, he's off again. That means we start a new over and we keep going. Same happens again, he gets hit for 4. We might finish our overs, which would be 6 overs each, but then he's only bowled 8 balls, so he's now got to bowl another 4.2 overs of just running 4 overs of just like bowling on his own. That's a nice way of doing it.
Yeah, that could work. Or even if you said you've got to bowl 30 in this session, you need to bowl 24 dot balls, and literally you score it.
Yeah,
and like you say, until you've bowled 24 dot balls, you keep going. So it might be that you bowl 60 deliveries, if you know what I mean. For example.
The other thing I wish I'd have done, going back to it, I wish I'd have probably asked a few more questions.
You make me laugh because, like, you literally don't. You always ask questions.
No. But I'm on about from like a learning point of view. Like, did I ever like ask you why you did stuff? Like, you'd warm up a certain way. You do your lifting and stuff like that. I never really. I was just like kind of that's him doing his thing. I'm not doing that. But there was a reason why you did it. I never asked questions as to why people were doing things a certain way.
I feel like with you and I, maybe it's a bit different because quite often we'd be sitting watching us bat, having this kind of chat. Do you know what I mean? So I think perhaps it was you didn't need to ask direct questions to me personally, but I get where you're coming from. I mean, it's funny, isn't it, when you think back? Like,
I'm never going to ask. Like, for instance, even now, I play at Mosley or whatever, and I've said to the lads, look, I'm here not just to play, but and pick up cash, but
I'm not just here picking up my grand here.
No, I wish. But like, I'm here to help, like, ask questions. Yeah. Anything, I'm here. Like, just like it's free. Just have the balls to ask. But the lads just sit there and don't say anything. I'm like, what more can I do apart from like I've approached you about you bowling and tried to talk to you, but I'm not going to be here forever. Like, utilize me.
I have just finished reading my second book of the year. So that's one of my goals, and it was called "The Courage to Be Disliked." And it is not. It's not. The title was a bit clickbaity and actually a little bit not what the book's about. However, there is a point in the book, and it talks about separation of tasks. Right. So, to be honest, Keith, once you've offered that, which is obviously very kind, whether or not people take you up on it, you can't control, can you? You know, you're there, you're offering it in good faith. If people don't want to ask you questions, they're not going to. And equally, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, you know, I mean, when I first started at Middlesex, the opening attack was Chris Silverwood and Richo, who were top class blokes to look up to, really. Tim Murtagh, young Tim Murtagh, first change at the time, albeit he was probably still honing his craft.
Yeah.
So wasn't necessarily someone who you'd get loads from at that point. But like, yeah, I should have asked them more questions. I was too busy playing Perudo with them and stuff like that. And then you probably forget that. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously they're nice people.
Yeah.
You forget that actually, you know what? Hang on a minute. This bloke gets poles. Richo was on an absolute tear. Silver's moved from Yorkshire to Lords, and he was obviously an away swing bowler, but he bowled the pavilion end. So he kind of swing it down into the slope and up the slope and whatever. You know, I should have taught more. But I'd be too busy sat on the balcony, like
just enjoying being a pro, basically.
Mate, yeah, loving it. I'm literally there, and I'd be like, "Hey, Richo, if a lion came, you," I'd be like, "If you were the umpire and you saw a lion come underneath the media stand, what would you do?" Do you know what I mean? I'd do that all day, and I'd be 12th man. Right? And I'd be there with like a can of Coke and my Viennese fingers, which I get from the dressing room attendant. And I think I'd have been like good fun to be around, and I'd be asking lots of questions, but they weren't the right ones. Do you know what I mean? I remember dropping a dice on an MCC member's head once, and I remember John Embry was playing. He was the head coach. It was like literally, I remember having to go down there. Oh, sorry, you know. Yeah, I was mucking about being a mule. So, okay, ask more questions. Is that an official one of your things?
Yeah, no, definitely. Just thinking of the question you'd ask. I do remember us doing that a little bit as well. Of if there was a sniper, where are you going? If they just took one of the players out, where are you running? You're in the field. Where are you running to hide?
Yeah, amazing. And ultimately, my theory with that lion kind of example is always be as long as you're not last. So if you were the umpire, all you had to be was in front of the other umpire or a fielder that was closer.
Yeah.
You actually didn't need to worry too much about getting to safety. Just don't be last, basically. And I remember having the same chats at Edgbaston, but obviously it's lower level. So lions could get up there.
Yeah.
And then it's like, wow, all of a sudden you're going in Cookie's office probably, aren't you? And locking yourself in.
Yeah.
But you've got to get there. Okay. Any more of these lessons?
I can't think of any more at the moment. I think those would be the main things I focus on.
I've got one more. Well, actually, to be fair, I have got a couple more.
Yeah, I will say, I wish I'd have got myself out of my comfort zone more in all different ways. So not from a cricket. Yeah.
That's so deep.
Just like, I think you've got to, if you want to develop as a person and as a cricketer, you've got to put yourself in positions that are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
To learn about yourself and then know how you interact when those situations arise.
Like abseiling.
Yeah. That is so true.
And go abseiling and watch the blokes panic. You know, I mean, like, this does not have any bearing on my cricket ability.
No. But even doing that, I realise that when I'm in like a fight or flight situation, I fight, but I literally fly mentally and I'm gone. I'm doing it, but I'm not there.
I really wish I was a fly on the wall, mate. When you were going over that, backing that arse over that cliff edge, and leaning into that, like, oh dear. Well, I mean, yeah, that's pretty deep. What about Come on then, I'm going to put you on the spot here. From in a cricket context, is there anything in training that you immediately think you wish you'd done that then? You know what I mean? Is there anything training wise?
What, just like a batting bowling?
Yeah.
No, I can't. Off the top of my head right now, no, I can't. I feel like I did challenge myself when it came to like bowling and trying to upskill and stuff like that. Batting wise, yeah, I could have challenged myself more. I could have given a shit more. I could have, like, what? I've reached 28, and realistically, I should average more. I feel, but because I focus so much on bowling, when it comes to like batting, it'd be like, all right, bowling's going to get me in the team. Batting is just an added extra that I can potentially offer.
Yeah.
But I'd never put in the same amount of time and effort as I did with my bowling into my batting.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get you there. Are we talking about, if we're being totally honest, are we talking about like we're talking about like white ball skills and the short ball?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I feel like I only had a certain amount of time of being interested.
Yeah.
And it was like, I need to get my skills right bowling. I need to just get my hand-eye coordination going, like reacting reasonably quick.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm done. I'm like, mentally, I'm done. And I wish I'd have kind of had a bit more about me. Like, obviously, we played with Shiv Shandapal, didn't we?
Yeah.
Every day he'd be 200 balls on the bowling machine, like, fair play. Could never do anything like that. I could try, but I'd get bored. And I feel like I create bad habits from just, I class it as junk personally, because I'd be like, I've reached my limit. Now I'm just practicing nonsense.
Yeah. See, okay, so actually, interestingly, when I reflect on me, and we're talking about batting here, by the way, for me, being out of my comfort zone would have been, how many years ago? Would have been 15 years ago, just ironing out a little grip issue and a bit of a bat path issue. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But actually, at the time, you're like, I can't be asked for that. I don't want to do that. Yeah. I want to face the machine and get, you know what I mean? Yeah. All this stuff. But it's actually what's harder. Bobble feeds, drop feeds, you know, repetitive technical work on the machine.
Yeah.
I've only really been doing it the last 3 years at Leicester. And actually my bat path and my access to the ball is better than ever. But my eyes have gone. I'm kidding. They haven't gone. Don't try it, anyone listening. My eyes are brilliant.
To be fair, that's the only other thing. I've tried to practice my bat swing. I have an actual more free-flowing hand swing, smoother movement rather than it being like down and rigid.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, it's iron out that shovel to the leg side. Oh dear. All right. Okay. Look, I've got. I don't know. I've got two left. I'll go with one really quickly, because the other one could be a different podcast altogether. But it's investing in yourself. Really is, again, as soon as I was able to, why not buy a game ready that you take around, your own personal game ready. Get what your own body. You know where you get niggles, rather than relying on the physio to provide it. Have it at home. Take it on away trips.
Yeah.
Do your icing as required, even from a young age. To be honest, you think you're indestructible, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, with that, you've got to be careful. For those who haven't used the game ready, it's a really solid ice machine. That's, I think most counties use them, don't they? Really,
it's compression and ice, isn't it?
Yeah. Really useful, but you've got to be careful on the person that is using it. Only reason being is that some people are in their own heads. Like, you would use it for the right reasons of, I'm actually sore tender here. Some people used it as a bit of a, how would I put it? They use it.
They need a cement pill instead.
Yeah, they'd use it and they actually didn't need to. It'd be an excuse, and then they'd use it and then it's, this is a bit sore. It's like, well, bowling hurts if you're doing it a lot, it's going to hurt. You can't get away from it. But when you're starting to pull up and say that you've got this, that, and the other wrong with you, and you're using the ice machine and you're not doing what you're paid to do, and that's your job of bowling, then that's when it can cause you problems, I think.
Yeah. I mean, what about massages? Do you think it's worth having your own masseuse once a week?
If you can afford it, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, there's an app called Urban, and you can get a massage 50 quid to wherever you are.
Yeah,
in the country. That's pretty good. 50 quid I think it's for an hour. Maybe it's half hour. I don't know.
Definitely. Obviously, everyone's different. Some like to use massage guns and all that. I prefer just a good old fashioned massage. As well as if you get someone proper, you can't. If you use a massage gun or a roller, you can kind of take it easier on yourself. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if you have someone who's just there to do the job and actually do it properly, it's not going to be comfortable. So
have you ever had Mozzie, who's our physio at work, do your calves?
Mate,
there's nothing worse in the world than that. That is the worst pain. I swear.
I used to have Mozzie because I had shin splits quite a bit and my calves were quite bad at times. He'd be getting in his bony elbows as hard as he could. And he's a strong Safa, isn't he? He's like he is, real strong. And I'd be like jolting around the physio bed and like jumping around, yelping, and he'd just be singing, "Don't cry for me, Argentina." I'm like, this is not good for me, but I need to do it. And he just loved anyone squealing at him hurting them. He loved it. But for me, I needed to do it, so I did it.
Mozzie's funny, right? He makes me laugh because I remember I was coming back from an injury once. I think it was a side strain. And he was like, "Right, you're with me today for rehab or something like that." And he was like, "We're going to do the prison work." He was like, "We're going to do the prison workout." And I don't know what it was at the time, but it was like 5 sets of it was something ridiculous, like 5 sets of 50 push-ups, 20 chin-ups, something like that. I remember doing like half of one set and being like, "I've reached failure. I'm done." I'm done. He was just so strong. I'll never forget him running around Winwood Cricket Club with that beer. Do you remember on a fines line? It was like watching The Running Man, wasn't it? It was like...
He had the best. He had a few of the best sayings I think ever. Whenever we wouldn't do well with the bat or ball, his sayings were, "When we bat, it's a snake's pit. It's just doing all sorts. And when we bowl, it's a flatty." It's the way he said it with his South African accent. It was hilarious. And I love how he kind of coaxed Clarkey to think like he's going to get some sympathy when Clarkey was like, "Honestly, I'm knackered." This was like April. Like, "Fizz, I'm honestly knackered." He's like, "I know you need a rest. You need a rest." And Clarkey's like, "Yeah, someone agrees with me." But like, end of September.
Yeah. Oh man,
brilliant! I love it.
Right. Are we wrapping it up?
We are wrapping it up, mate.
Bit of a longer one today. We've gone near the hour, but that was good fun. I'm trying to think hopefully I'll write the show notes down, which will have the kind of themes, but there's some stuff in there that people can use, I reckon. You know, obviously we've spoken personally, but there's some sort of more general themes in there that are pretty good. Like you're asking questions and getting peppered on the bowling machine and all that sort of stuff. But we'll leave it there. Again, like we said at the start, please leave us a review if you enjoy the podcast, and we'd really appreciate that. And make sure you use our discount at Grey Nichols. Get some cool stuff. But otherwise, Keith, we'll take it easy, and I'll see you soon.
See you, mate. Catch you later.
See ya.